All right, guys, so we're going to be discussing the civil rights era, and obviously, this is a big part of the time period that we're studying 50s, 60s, 70s. And obviously, something that is very important to our country and has done a lot of changes. Now, I need you to understand something here, okay? Look at me. I'm a white, bald dude. I'm going to be talking about the civil rights from a white, bald dude perspective. All right. I will be able to look at it from a historical perspective, and I'll be able to look at it from a perspective of having gone through some of the aspects of the civil rights era, even in the late 70s and early 80s. But I am not going to be able to talk about it from the perspective of somebody that's an African American or is a minority, and somebody that has experienced discrimination, racism from a personal experience. Okay, so please understand when I tell you that I'm going to look at this from a perspective that is going to be very different than perhaps you, that if you are a minority or African American, or however you want to identify yourself. I'm going to be looking at it from a different perspective just because I'm not African American or minority, a woman, or that is one of the things I need you to understand. Okay, so in that, that is something that is very important to establish up front. But I can still look at it and go, the things that happened in the 60s, in the 70s, let's go back to the 50s as well, were wrong in regards to racism. They were wrong. And they were something that shouldn't have happened, but our country dealt with it. Our country is still dealing with it. And it is important to understand the people that were involved in trying to make our world better. Obviously, Martin Luther King Jr. is one of those people that is at the forefront of this fight, and we'll be obviously discussing him and his role and his relationship with the people around him, and with politics, right? Politics need to be addressed at this point, okay? Because it was very political. There was a lot of people that used racial disparity as part of the political framework on both sides. And so we need to at least address this. Now, remember, at the time, the Democratic Party was actually, very much opposed to having African Americans be a part of their framework. The Mississippi Democratic Party said, no, we're not going to have any African Americans in our group. All right, so you need to understand that both sides, and of course there were some Republican presidents that had to deal with this. JFK obviously was a Democrat president, and he tried to bring a lot of effort of change. And his brother Robert Kennedy was the Attorney General, and he really tried to bring a lot of change to this area as well. Matter of fact, sending federal soldiers, federal troops to the hot spots, especially in the South, that were having some big issues. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with some of the stuff with the civil rights movement. Of course, this is a video that we're not going to watch, but is part of this. So let's deal with types of segregation. Okay, de facto segregation is simply the idea of segregation by practice or custom, so that you are accustomed to the way that things are always been or have always been, and you just don't see a need for change. All right, and so that and segregation can be in various ways, and we've talked about segregation is not just racially based. You can segregate based on certain characteristics of a person. You can segregate based on gender. You can segregate in any way that you want to base it, economics, the whole nine yards. Okay, but this in particular is segregation that is based on a practice or custom. The jure segregation is a little different. Jure, if you think about the word jury and law, this is segregation by a specific law that is put into place. So you got Plessy versus Ferguson, which is a Supreme Court case, horrible Supreme Court case, but that is a law that segregates as well. All right, so here are some images about this time. So you have the colored drinking fountains and the whites only drinking fountains. Coca-Cola, obviously you can see that Coca-Cola had some stuff going on. You can see whites only. And here's another video. It's a great video, and please guys, one of the problems that I can't show you some of these videos that I would show you in class is that some of these videos are from YouTube and they have copyright issues on it, right? And so if I put this up on YouTube, I get slammed with a copyright issue, and I don't want to do that. Obviously, we're trying to make sure we follow our rules as well. But please, please, please click on the link, open the presentation, click on the link, because these are great videos that really do a good job with expressing some of the feelings, the emotions that are going on during this time, and some of the fights that are still taking place. And if we were still in school, we'd be watching a video at this point called Hidden Figures. And if you get a chance, please take a moment during your quarantine time period to watch Hidden Figures, because that truly is a video that definitely deals with some of the racial disparities of the time, some of the fight of being recognized not for anything other than the character of who they are. It doesn't matter their skin color, doesn't matter their ability levels, but who they are as individuals. And Hidden Figures is a great video that brings that about in a great manner. All right. So Brown versus Board of Education is really that linchpin, that key deciding factor that happens during this time period. And everybody goes back. So if you ever see Plessy versus Ferguson, you're going to have it in relation to Brown versus Board of Education. So this court case goes all the way up to Supreme Court, and basically it's Topeka, Kansas. There's a man in Topeka, Kansas, who is denied admission. His daughter is denied admission to an all-white school only 4 blocks away, and the nearest all-black school was 21 blocks away. And so they're having to spend precious hours and time having to go to this school, and the quality of education is not as good. They don't get the same equipment, the same funding, and so it is not equal. The whole idea of Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal, it's not equal. And so this court case goes all the way up, and Supreme Court rules that the segregation of school is in violation of that 14th Amendment. Now remember, we talked about that 14th Amendment before, that it's talking about citizenship and the rights of citizen. What does it mean to be a citizen, and what rights are those established? Many areas in the South do actually refuse to enforce this desegregation, and so that of course brings up a lot more issues that happen, some of the violence that takes place. People governors are coming out in support of these racial disparity, and they're getting elected based on some of their rhetoric, and it's bad. All right, but I want you to look at this picture right here. This picture, it says it all. This young lady on the left, this African American girl, she's scared. She's nervous. She doesn't know what to do, but yet she's brave, and she understands that she is doing something in this time period that is so important, but yet she's obviously very, very scared, very not sure what's going on. And this little girl over here, I don't know if you can read her expression. I don't know what she's thinking, but in my opinion, she's probably going, wow, how do I adjust to this new situation? This is all I've ever known, is to be in an only white school, and now we have African Americans here, and how does that relate? How does that work together? Now, thankfully, for us in our school system, in our school itself, in our class, we have some amazing things that we bring together. And yes, obviously, I'm sure there's still racism going on, and we've talked about this in class, but it's all about the attitude that we bring to it. If we continually only focus on race, then we're missing a bigger part of who we are as individuals, and it's not just based on race. It's based on who we are, just us, right? And so yes, we have to have the conversation of race, and yes, we have to address it, but it cannot be our primary focus, because that is not who we are entirely as human beings, right? We are much more than just our race, and when we focus only on race, then I think we miss out on a big part of that. So this is just little Dr. T rant there for a second, okay? And I understand that everybody has a different perspective. Everybody has a different way that they have experienced life. And you're right. You know, you look at Dr. T and go, well, you probably never experienced racism before. You're right. I haven't, because I have not been in that. I'm not African American, or I'm not Hispanic, or I'm not a minority, and so you're right. I have not experienced that into the point that you may or may not have. But the bottom line is, we have to deal with anybody's prejudice, anybody's biases, and we have to determine that we're not going to allow those things to impact us in ways that are negative, right? Either I'm going to choose not to offend as much as possible, and somebody else is going to choose not to be offended, and we're going to work together to bridge a common goal. All right. So this court case is Brown versus Board of Education. This is a great video about it. Again, I can't show the videos, but I want to make sure that you are aware of these. All right. So the Little Rock crisis is an interesting thing that happens. And boy, look at this woman's face. Look at the hatred on her face. And I just sit there and go, how in the world can you be so angry about something that has nothing, that they're wanting to have an education, and this is going to a high school, and there's actually a scene in Forrest Gump. Now it deals with the Alabama and the desegregation, but Forrest Gump, they're being escorted into the courtroom, and Forrest Gump goes and picks up a book that was dropped by an African American and hands it to, because he didn't care. It didn't matter to him the color of the skin. And it's a great scene in that movie that talks about some of these issues that were taking place all across the country, but unfortunately primarily in the South. And a federal judge orders the governor to allow students into the school. This is in Arkansas. President Eisenhower orders the National Guard to allow the students in the school. And this is the whole nation watching television. This is one area where television, the media, really does play a huge role in a positive aspect, is that they focus on making sure that some of these horrible events that people are treating people horribly just because of the color of their skin are seen on national TV, and it really does change the entire mindset of the country of, wow, why are people so upset about this? There's nothing to be upset about. So it does change the whole idea of this as well. So this is the Little Rock Nine here. I know there's more than nine in the picture, but this is the original group that has, but such powerful individuals, and they changed the world. Really, they changed the world, but definitely the United States, and by their heroism and the way that they chose to stand up for their rights is just a testament to who they are. So we're going to end with this one, because we're going to deal with some of the people that were involved in some of the focus of changing the mindset of people. And that's what I want you to understand, is the mindset had to change. The mindset of judging somebody based on their skin color, based on things that they had nothing to do with. They are human beings that are just part of our society, and how in the world can we judge somebody based on a skin color? And that is one of the things that we'll talk more about as we get into some of the people that stood up for the rights of African American community, and not just African American community, but for all minorities, for all people, because this is a bigger issue than just a small a community or a small group of people. This is a worldwide, United States wide issue that we have to deal with at this time period. And I love the discussion about it. And again, please understand my heart here, okay? I'm talking about this from what we call an empathetic viewpoint. I look at it and I say, okay, I can see it from a big picture view, but I have never fully experienced it because I am not a minority. All right, so please hear me when I say that as a teacher. Okay, so this is the first part of a three-part series of the civil rights, and we'll go on for the next one.